Before it was ever a cigar, it was a seed, smaller than a grain of sand. And by the time it reaches somebody's hand, it's carrying a lot more than flavor. It starts in a greenhouse. Tobacco seeds get planted in beds, and after about 3 weeks they sprout into tiny seedlings, barely an inch tall. Workers pick out the strongest ones and move them into trays with richer soil to put up. Roughly a month and a half later, they're finally sturdy enough to go out into the field. Here's something most people don't know. You don't harvest a tobacco plant all at once. The leaves get picked in stage, bottom to top, because the height on the plant changes what the leaf actually is. The lowest leaves, called folado, come up first, then the middle leaves, seco, then the higher up, fiso, and at the very top, the poorest leaves, ligero. This is where the danger starts. Before the leaf is even dried, freshly cut tobacco is loaded with nicotine. And when the leaves are wet, from the morning to rain, or just the workers on sweat in their hot field, that nicotine dissolves and start absorbing straight through the skin. It's a real documented occupational illness called green tobacco sickness. Tobacco workers can suffer acute nicotine poisoning just from handling the wet leaves, with symptoms like nausea and vomiting. And an estimated 24% of harvest workers get it every single season. It mimics pesticide poisoning and hit exhaustion so closely that it's often hard to diagnose in the field. And here's the twist. People who already smoke cigarettes are actually somewhat protected, because their bodies have built up tolerance to nicotine, while non-smokers absorbing it for the first time get hit the hardest. Once harvested, the leaves get strung up on poles and hung inside a curing bar. This is where the leaves actually start turning into tobacco the way we picture it. Fresh off the stalk, it's green, and after about 2 months of hanging, the chlorophyll breaks down and it shifts from the green to yellow to a deep brown. Workers rotate the leaves from top to bottom in the barn so temperature and moisture stay even. But something else is happening chemically in that barn, and it's arguably the most important part of the whole danger story. Tobacco leaves naturally carry nitrate, a nasty cured bacteria on the leaf surface converts some of that nitrate into nitrate. That nitrate reacts with nicotine and other alkaloids in the leaf, and that reaction, called nitrosamine, is what creates a group of chemicals called tobacco-specific nitrosamines, or TSNAs. These specific carcinogens, including NNN and NNK, aren't present in any meaningful amount in the fresh green plant. They are formed during curing itself. Curing methods that use higher heat, like flue curing or fire curing, actually produce even higher levels of these nitrosamines than slower air curing, because the heat speeds up the same chemical reaction. In other words, the very process that gives tobacco its recognized brown color and its aroma is, at the same time, manufacturing some of its most dangerous compounds. It's not something added later. It's baked into the curing itself. After curing, leaves are sorted by size and color and moved to a processing facility, where they're stacked into massive piles called pylons, 3 feet tall, 4 feet wide, 8 feet long, weighing thousands of pounds. Packed together like that, they start to ferment. This step is partly about flavor, but it's also doing cleanup work. Fermentation helps break down ammonia that occurs naturally in the leaf. Ammonia in high enough concentration is genuinely irritating to the eyes, throat, and lungs, which is part of why this step matters so much before the tobacco is anywhere near ready to smoke. Once fermentation's done, every leaf gets sorted into one of 3 jobs: the filler, which is the core of the cigar and gives it body; the binder, which holds that fillers together; and the wrapper, the outer leaf, the one you actually see, and notably in the one leaf that keeps direct, prolonged contact with a person's lips and mouth lining every single time the cigar is smoked. A roller shapes all three together by hand into the cigar shape we recognize. And that finished cigar are aged again, and sometimes for months before they are sold. So, by the time a cigar is finished, it's already been through a small chemical churning. Nicotine absorbed by field workers before it was even dry. Nitrosamines quietly forming during weeks in a curing barn. Ammonia being cooked out during fermentation, and that's all before anyone lights it. So, here's the full art, start to finish. A seed becomes a seedling, the seedling becomes a plant, harvested in stage by workers who risk nicotine poisoning just from wet leaves. The leaves hang for 2 months in a barn. And while they're slowly turning brown, they're also quietly forming carcinogens as a side effect of the very process that makes them smokable. They ferment, get sorted, get rolled by hands into something genuinely beautiful to look at, and then, when it's lit, it delivers exactly what was pudding the whole time.